Something is quietly happening around this team, and if you're not paying close attention, you might not realize how important it is. At first glance, it seems like routine preseason news, but behind it lies a change that could shape the entire upcoming season. It's the kind of detail that doesn't immediately grab your attention, but ends up making all the difference when it really matters. But first, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments if you think we can win this season. Let's go! Something subtle has just shifted for the San Francisco 49ers. And if you're not paying close attention, you might not realize why it could quietly shape the entire 2026 season. There's an underlying layer to the schedule discussion, and it begins with a combination of timeline, projections, and a very important advantage that doesn't immediately jump out at you. Right now, the NFL is approaching one of the most anticipated milestones of the preseason, the release of the schedule. While it's normally set in mid-May, there's a real possibility of a delay this year due to ongoing negotiations over a 5-game package for television and online broadcast. With a lot of money involved and several broadcasters competing, the league is taking its time to finalize where these games will be shown. This delay may seem merely procedural, but it's part of a larger context, because while we don't yet know the exact dates or primetime slots, we already know something possibly more important: who the 49ers will face, and how difficult that path will be. And this is where things get interesting. Following free agency and the NFL draft, Las Vegas sportsbooks released win projections for all 32 teams. These projections aren't random guesses. They take into account roster changes, coaching changes, injuries, and the overall strength of the teams. Analyst Warren Sharp used these projections to calculate the difficulty of the league-wide schedule, offering a perspective on the future rather than relying solely on last season's results. This distinction is more important than ever, because, based on these projections, the San Francisco 49ers are in a surprisingly favorable position. The prediction is that San Francisco will have the 8th easiest schedule in the entire NFL in 2026. This is a significant development when considering the context. This is a team coming off a very competitive run in one of the toughest divisions in American football, but which, by finishing behind the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams, benefits from a schedule format for the third-place team. This means that instead of facing top teams in every division, they will face other third-place teams in specific divisions. It's an inherent advantage, and it's real. Now, let's analyze what we know about our opponents. At home in Santa Clara, the 49ers will host division rivals, as well as teams like the Denver Broncos, Philadelphia Eagles, Las Vegas Raiders, Washington Commanders, Minnesota Vikings, and Miami Dolphins. Away, they will face familiar NFC West opponents, as well as the Dallas Cowboys, Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers, New York Giants, and Atlanta Falcons. There's also the international element, the game against the Rams in Melbourne, Australia, which adds a special touch. And when we look at the win projection, the 49ers are on par with the league elite at 10.5 wins. This puts them alongside title contenders like the Eagles, Chiefs, Packers, and Bills. It's a clear sign. Expectations remain high. But here's the nuance that makes this whole situation so fascinating. The assessment of schedule difficulty based on projected wins is fundamentally different from traditional metrics. It doesn't reward or punish teams solely based on last year's performance. It adjusts performance according to expectations for the team's future. This includes preseason improvements and roster changes. Therefore, when the 49ers fall into the easiest schedule category, it's not by chance or due to outdated data. It's a reflection of how the league currently views both the team and its opponents heading into 2026. Still, it's not all roses. While the schedule may look more favorable on paper, the travel demands are anything but. The 49ers are set to travel the longest distance in the NFL this season, with trips ranging from San Francisco to Melbourne and Mexico City. This type of travel creates physical and logistical challenges that no projection model can fully predict. Therefore, what we see is a fascinating balance: a team with an elite roster, a favorable standing in the game schedule, but with one of the most grueling travel schedules in the league. And that's where this season could be defined, not just by who they face, but by how they handle everything that happens around them. Now, I want to know your opinion. Based on everything we've just analyzed, how many games do you think the 49ers will win in 2026? Leave your guess in the comments right now, because this conversation is just beginning. But here's where the conversation takes another turn. And if you're thinking this is just about an easy schedule, you're missing the tension building underneath it all. Because when you actually zoom into the opponents, the idea of eighth easiest starts to feel a little deceptive. Inside the division alone, the Seattle Seahawks are coming off a Super Bowl win. That changes everything. You're no longer talking about a competitive rival. You're talking about the standard in the NFC. The Los Angeles Rams. They just reached the NFC Championship game. That's two powerhouse teams you have to face twice. Even the Arizona Cardinals, despite a low projected win total, are still part of a division that made history with 3 teams winning 12 or more games last season. That context alone explains why some weaker teams still end up with brutal schedules. Now layer in the cross-division matchups. The 49ers will go head-to-head with the Kansas City Chiefs, led by Patrick Mahomes, who is expected to be back and fully healthy for Week 1. That's not just another game, that's a measuring stick. You've got the Dallas Cowboys on the road, where history tells us Niners fans will travel well, but it's still a high-pressure environment. The Philadelphia Eagles remain one of the most complete rosters in football, even after a playoff loss to San Francisco. So yes, the numbers say easier schedule. But the reality? It's layered with high-end competition. And then comes one of the most overlooked factors that could define the entire season: variability. Projected win totals don't account for the chaos that inevitably unfolds across an NFL season. Turnovers, missed field goals, tipped interceptions, those unpredictable moments swing games every single week. Last year already proved how quickly teams can evolve from one season to the next. A squad projected to win 6 games can suddenly become a playoff contender. A powerhouse can fall apart due to injuries. So when you hear 5 wins as the over-under for the 49ers, understand what that really represents. It's not just a number. It's a line drawn by sportsbooks based on everything we know right now. And historically, those lines tend to land pretty close to reality. That puts San Francisco in a very specific category: expected contender, but not runaway favorite. Now, let's go back to something that might end up being the ultimate X factor: the travel. This isn't just another long-distance season. This is potentially historic. San Francisco will travel across the Pacific to play at the Melbourne Cricket Ground in Australia, then return to the US and also make a trip to Mexico City. That kind of global movement isn't just rare. It's physically demanding in ways that go beyond standard road games. And here's the thing: the 49ers already deal with heavy travel every year simply due to their geographic location in Northern California. They're consistently among the top teams in total miles traveled. But adding 2 international games, that pushes them into completely uncharted territory. So now you're looking at a team with a top 10 easiest schedule on paper, elite-level opponents scattered throughout, one of the highest projected win totals in the NFL, and the most demanding travel schedule in the league. That combination doesn't simplify expectations, it complicates them. Because this season won't just be about talent. It'll be about endurance, preparation, and how well this team can handle extremes. Easy stretches versus brutal travel. Favorable matchups versus elite quarterbacks. And if you're a 49ers fan, there's one more angle you can't ignore. Momentum. With games in international markets like Australia, the 49ers are expanding their global presence. That game against the Rams in Melbourne? It might feel like a road game on paper, but there's a real expectation that it could turn into a red and gold takeover. The same goes for matchups like the Chargers, where Niners fans have historically flooded opposing stadiums. So while the miles add up, so does the reach of this fan base. And that could quietly flip certain disadvantages into emotional advantages. All of this leads to one unavoidable conclusion. The 2026 season is shaping up to be one of the most complex and intriguing campaigns in recent 49ers history. Not because it's overwhelmingly difficult, but because it sits right on the edge between opportunity and challenge. Now it's your turn. Do you think the 49ers go over that 10-5 win projection, or does the travel and competition pull them under? And if you're enjoying this kind of deep dive breakdown, make sure to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss anything as we get closer to kickoff. Let's go!